Will a fourth stimulus check actually be called a stimulus check? Or will it possibly be rebranded and called something completely different? This is something that's very important that we need to take note of, especially as we move forward with these next couple stimulus packages. With that being said, let's get right into it and talk about all of the details. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right down below the video so I can continue to keep you updated each and every day with everything going on, as all of this information is literally changing every single day. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And you also want to make sure you're subscribed so we can reach 1 million subscribers right here on the channel before the end of the year, which will ultimately give us more impact and influence going forward, especially as we call on Congress to issue more stimulus checks and to raise benefits like Social Security, retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, and RRB benefits. Thank you. I truly appreciate it. And let's get right into this. So, stimulus checks, are they going to be called that, or will they possibly get a brand new name? Nice and shiny, a brand new name. Well, it's all up to be decided still, but before we get into that, let's quickly talk about what is a stimulus check. I mean, what is it actually, right? Let's quickly talk through this because we need to better understand what stimulus checks actually are so we know what we're looking for in the stimulus packages, because realistically, it could be rebranded and called something completely different that we completely overlook because we're looking for the words stimulus check or direct payments, right? Well, if we don't see that in the bill and all of a sudden we're looking around and it's actually called something completely different, we need to know what we're looking for. So let me quickly run through this. I promise I'll make it quick, but then we'll get into it further and talk about what this could actually look like rather than potentially a stimulus check. Either way, it is still money in the pockets of people, but maybe it's rebranded under a new fancy name. All right, let's quickly talk about this. So stimulus checks are an advance on a refundable tax credit. So what that means is when somebody goes to file a tax return, there's a couple types of credits. There's a refundable tax credit and there's a non-refundable tax credit. Luckily, stimulus checks are refundable tax credits. So essentially what this means, even if your income is zero, so you completely zero out all of your income, a refundable tax credit would still send you that refund on your tax return. Nice. So you would still get the money even if your income is zeroed out as a result of a refundable tax credit. However, the difference, a non-refundable tax credit, if you zero out your income, sorry, you're not going to get that refund. So here's the deal. That's the cool thing about stimulus checks is they are refundable tax credits. So with that being said, let me give you a quick example. Now stick with me through this. I'm going to use this as an example, but it'll all come together here in just a second when I say this. So right now, all of you are very aware of the child tax credit payments that are going out on a monthly basis. That is a refundable tax credit. That's exactly what it is. So all they're doing is they're sending out advances on this tax credit that would otherwise show up on a tax return when somebody goes to file. So rather than getting a big lump sum payment early next year, which some people can do that if you just wanted to do that, you could be taking the lump sum payment early next year versus the monthly payments, by the way, if you want to do that instead. But that's exactly what it is. So they are once again advancing that money to all these people who are eligible for the child tax credit in the form of monthly payments, otherwise known as advanced payments. So they're basically just fronting you the money. You know what I mean, right? You probably had that, or you know what I'm talking about, like a cash advance, or when somebody fronts you something, right? They kind of give it to you, and then, eventually you kind of settle up later, right? So it's the same exact thing. So here's the thing now. Even though the stimulus checks are called stimulus checks and they are an advance on a refundable tax credit, the child tax credit payments are a child tax credit, which is also an advance on a refundable tax credit. They're both the exact same thing, but they have two different names. Get what I'm saying? So here's the thing. Going forward in these next couple stimulus packages, we need to be very aware and watch for all of this language because they could slip it in there as a different name. They could completely rebrand this next stimulus check as something completely different. Let me give you an example. So we have the child tax credit payments, right? So those are being sent out to the parents of people who have kids aged 17 and younger. Who says they don't put language in this bill that's maybe called, I don't know, adult tax credit or maybe like, yeah, I mean, they could call it anything like that. Maybe like a low-income adult tax credit. I mean, they could literally put any name they wanted on it. Essentially, it would be the exact same thing. They would basically just amend the tax return, right? The tax forms, like the 1040 tax return or tax form, and they basically just add a new line, just like they do with the recovery rebate credit on line 30 on the 1040. It's exactly what they did. It's a brand new line right there on the tax return, and they just add the line, and basically they just say, okay, here it is. It's a brand new return, or it's a brand new tax credit. Maybe they do that with the next one. So rather than branding it as a direct payment to the people, maybe they say, hey, we like this child tax credit thing. It's helping out a lot of people right now, and it's sending out these monthly payments to people who have kids under the age 18, who are, of course, earning under $150,000 as a married couple or $75,000 as an individual. Maybe they say, hey, we're having so much success with this. We're seeing this help out so many people and families right now. Maybe in this next bill, let's add the same thing for those people who are maybe low-income adults who maybe don't have kids, or maybe their kids are older and they are no longer eligible to receive the child tax credit payments simply because their kids are over the age 17, right? So maybe like 18 and older, whatever. So the deal is, they could rebrand this thing and add it onto the stimulus package, and they could name it something like low-income adult tax credit, or just maybe just straight up like adult tax credit. Well, if we're looking through these bills and we're looking through all the information, we don't see anything called a stimulus check, we'd think, oh man, they forgot it. Well, if we actually read into the text and we see something called like adult tax credit or something like that, we might just think, hey, check it out. They are sending out adult tax credit payments just like the child tax credit payments, right? Same exact thing once again. Advance on a refundable tax credit. So we need to be very aware of this. Now, there's something else that could happen too. Again, they could totally just make up a brand new tax credit and just add it onto the tax return, right? The tax form, the 1040 tax return or tax form. Or maybe they do something like they amend something that's already on the tax return, which is the EITC, Earned Income Tax Credit. Now, this tax credit is already on the tax form. However, it can only be claimed for people who have an earned income, right? So you need to have an earned income in order to claim it. Well, here's the thing. Let me take that back. And in most instances, you would need to have kids as well in order to get like the bulk of the money. Now, even if you have no kids, you could still get a very small portion. It's only like $600, but it would still be eligible. But you need to have an earned income. Maybe they amend the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credit on the tax form, and they just say, hey, let's expand this a little bit. Let's kind of open up the parameters and make it eligible for people who are still have an income, but maybe have, an income that maybe not be a technically earned income. You know what I mean? Or maybe they say, let's just make it eligible for everybody. Everybody who is under the income thresholds of, whatever happens to be, $40,000, $50,000, whatever they determine, and let's just expand it to everybody. By the way, the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, is like $6,000. It's a lot of money. It's like $6,600 is what somebody could potentially get as a result of that. It's a lot of money. My point is, maybe they open up the parameters on that thing and they say, hey, let's just expand this a little bit and make it more open and eligible for more low-income individuals to get part of this. Again, if we're looking through these stimulus bills and all of a sudden we don't see anything pertaining to a stimulus check, but we see expansion of maybe the EITC, or we see a new line item called like adult tax credit payments or something like that, we could easily overlook it if we don't know what we're looking for, right? So that's why I'm kind of laying all this out there. And of course, we can't forget, they could just straight up call it UBI, GBI, Universal Basic Income, which is UBI, or GBI, Guaranteed Basic Income, right? We can't forget about those. We've talked about this many times. But once again, they could add something in there just like that. It could be given one of those fancy names like that, but essentially called the exact same thing. Once again, offering low-income individuals monthly payments on an ongoing basis for a specified period of time. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that they could lay this out. And again, they could just straight up call it stimulus check number 4. I mean, that'd be the easiest thing to do, right? Just plain old, this is direct payment number 4. Now remember, they don't actually call them stimulus checks, they call them direct payments, right? Yeah, or actually, no. That's what they call them when they're talking about them in like interviews and stuff like that. They call them direct payments or survival checks. But realistically, what they actually call them is economic impact payments. That's technically the real term that they call them, EIP, economic impact payments. So yeah, that's real technical, right? How would you like it if I came back every day and said, this is your EIP, economic impact payment update for the day? That'd get kind of old really fast, right? So anyway, I wanted to lay this all out there because we need to watch this very, very closely going forward, because they could slip some goodies into the package right under our nose and we may not even know it unless we know what we're looking for. But don't worry, you got me. I'm on your team. I'm a huge nerd. I look at all this stuff. I read all this stuff. I love to study the tax code. Yeah, I know. I probably just lost you right there. I'm sorry. I'm a huge nerd. Seriously, I read the tax code. I study the tax code. It is something that's very interesting to me. I know I don't have any friends. Probably never will. I'm totally fine with that. It's been kind of the story of my life. It's fine. I'm cool with it. Whatever. I like it because it's interesting to me. I like reading about it just because I just find it to be really interesting. I don't know why. It's just very interesting to me. I've been doing it for many years now. I enjoy studying the tax code. I enjoy reading all this stuff, learning about it, and bringing all this stuff to you in these short videos. So, yeah. I basically just gave you my life story. I sit around and just read stuff online all day, talking about taxes, talking about political stuff that's not very exciting, stimulus stuff, stimulus packages, stimulus checks, refundable tax credits, money. It's basically my life. Anyway, I want to do whatever I possibly can to keep you updated, but seriously, I wanted to lay this all out there because it could come in any of many different forms. Just remember, even if they come out and say, well, we don't have a stimulus check, but we have this other tax credit, you should have your ears perk up at that point and think, huh? Tax credit. Because just remember, tax credit means cash. That's all tax credits are. Tax credits are cash. Okay? So if you hear those words being thrown out there, a refundable tax credit or anything like that, you should be paying attention because that means money in your pocket, right? So in many instances, if it is a refundable tax credit, yeah, you can zero out your income. You can have no income in most instances and still get a refund. So anyway, I wanted to lay it all out there. We need to pay attention to all this going forward because they could just throw it in there in any other form, kind of, maybe not branded as a stimulus check, and it could be in there, and we may not even, recognize it right away. So we just got to be aware of this, that there are literally countless different ways that they could add additional money in there for low-income individuals right under our face that, we may not recognize right away. So anyway, even if it's not even called a stimulus check, we just got to know, technically, under the surface, it's still a stimulus check. It's like, think of this analogy. You got two cars, right? Two different brand cars. I don't know, just pick any two cars. They're similar, right? Whatever. They pull up next to each other. They parked right next to each other. The bodies look different, but when you pop the hood and look under the hood, what do you know? You have the same exact engine in two different bodies of the car, right? So it's exactly what this is. It's basically the exact same thing. You got two different cars, in other words, like two different animals. It's called two different things. They're branded totally different, but when you pop up the hood, you got the same exact engine under the hood, right? It's basically exactly what it comes down to. So anyway, hope this makes sense. Hope this helps you out in any way, but don't worry. I will continue watching this very closely. I have my eyes on the radar, and I'm looking for any special terms like that, and I, of course, will keep you updated with any new information that we get on these stimulus packages and any form of relief for the people in the form of anything that I laid out in this video. So don't worry, I'm on your team. I'm watching everything very closely, and of course, I will keep you updated with anything. I want to make sure that we can get you some extra money or extra relief in any form that it'll come in. Who cares what it's called at this point? Just money, right? Money is money, and that's what everybody wants. So we don't really care about what the name is. We just want the green, right? Anyway, I will do whatever I can to get that for you. Make sure to hit that subscribe button right down below the video so you can continue to stay updated with all my videos and all of this information going on out there. And again, so we can reach 1 million subscribers right here on the channel to increase our impact and influence going forward as we continue to request all of this stuff from Congress. Thanks again. Share this video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of my nearly 1,400 videos right here on the channel. Thanks again. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.